This week's episode was brought to you by Lauren E., SS, and Adam Sharp. Thank you, Lauren E., SS, and Adam Sharp. It's with generous support of listeners just like you that our ragtag conglomeration of deep cover agents of astral subterfuge maintain a low profile and keep sabotaging the etheric support network which keeps the Black Garden prison running so we can sneak a few more passed out to enjoy the barbecue rave party deep beneath the Earth's surface where the rest of our crew is hiding. If you'd like to help us throw our barbecue rave party or just hear the second half of this episode, then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit, where your generous donation of just $5 a month will not only get you the extended version of this episode, oh no, you'll get the extended version of every single one of our episodes that's available in binge-worthy format anytime, day or night, and browsable from right within Spotify through our seamless Patreon integration. If that's not enough, I'll send you a 5x5 high-quality vinyl sticker of our Big Money Baphomet cover art, along with the super secret keys to our Discord server, which is a domain of unimaginable pleasures beyond time and space, where we discuss memories of our fallen comrades and share air fryer recipes. In this week's episode, we review the wild wisdom of Phil Hine as laid out in his masterpiece of magical literature every beginner should own, Condensed Chaos. In this current-defining work, Phil Hine gives us a glimpse behind the curtain. It spells out in no uncertain terms not only the benefit of walking the path of chaos, but how to get started with an unusual combination of depth, brevity, and clarity. In the first half of this multi-part episode, we will discuss the 6 core principles of chaos magic, magic in the real world, and what it takes to become a bona fide chaos magician. In the extended, uncensored, long-play, exclusive format edition of the episode, we go further down the rabbit hole to discuss specifically the numerous dangers and pitfalls that you will face upon your magic path and how to deal with them. Tune in next week for part 2. Thank you, and enjoy the show. What do you call it when you're milking a cow and the milk goes everywhere but in the bucket?
What?
Utter chaos.
I knew it was going to have something to do with chaos.
You know, there's actually 50 different states of chaos.
Is there?
Yeah, it's called the United States.
Nice.
I have a magic coin that whenever it's flipped, it always lands on its side. I can't make heads or tails of it. So this Mexican guy showed me a magic trick. He says, uno. He said, dos. And poof, he disappeared without a trace. Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Whole Rabbit, where we don't just scream at you nigh incoherently about the abstruse Kabbalistic symbolism in movies you haven't watched since the days your dad recorded them on cable TV using a VCR and a 9-hour runtime cassette that always had porn hiding at the end of it. Nay, we also imbibe the neon black light of the hyperspace void, beyond the domain of infinite rainbows, to take a crash course through the mutant garden of condensed chaos, the quintessential all-time chaos magic classic by Phil Hine.
Sounds tasty.
It is quite tasty. Phil Hine makes a good broth. I'm your host, Hack Rabbit, also known as Luke Madrid. I'm joined this week by the co-hosts, the Kabbalist K9, Mari-sama.
Bark, bark, what's up?
The Mimetic Malcontent, Malachor 5.
Yo, hey.
And the Cosmic Cream in the Coffee of Chaos, Heka Astra.
Hello.
Chaos magic is always a breath of fresh air and a chance for everyone to hail the new flesh! You'd think there'd be a linear progression to the Chaos magic episodes, but really, each one is more like a suction cup on a giant tentacle.
Being non-linear is in itself true to the form.
It rejects pyramids for circles. It's all about being holistic, which is what we're about on the show, mostly.
The holistic rabbit.
So following in the footsteps of Chaos Magic progenitors, Austin Osman Spare, Genesis Piorge, and later, Peter J. Carroll, Phil Hine's Condensed Chaos, an introduction to chaos magic, is intended to liberate the seeker from the strict, dusty confines of highly systematized, overpriced, supercilious, gate-kept, cyclopean watchtowers of the hermetic and otherwise thelemic schools of magic, and does a damn good job of it. Phil Hine has a uniquely clear voice, and it's no wonder Condensed Chaos is easily one of the most poignant, important, and popular books on the subject. We'll aim for a well-rounded review and summary, but focus quite a bit more on the stuff that makes the text so uniquely invigorating.
This book definitely has a special place in my heart because it's the first magic book I ever bought.
It is?
Yeah, but it connects into a lot of not only occultism, but metaphysics and philosophy that that I was already interested in that kind of drew me into my spiritual path.
I really like how the way that this book approaches it and chaos magic in general can either add more depth to your practices or it can simplify your understanding and ability to do those practices. So it's kind of a really interesting dichotomy that way because it can either make it more in depth or can simplify it.
In the text, it says chaos magic has a tendency to simplify the abstract and to embrace the complicated when it has to do with real life. So you may need a more complicated model when you're talking about the economy or the inner workings of a sewing machine. You can't just sprinkle goat blood on the Macintosh and fix it with some magic phrases, you know?
It's also not at odds with if you have a current system that you're using. Like, let's say you connect to Hellenistic deities and practices. It can still be applied to that, which is really cool.
I think the title of the book shines on that merit of chaos's magic. You know, the word condensed being in the title. It's almost funny how all these complicated things in the end really are sort of simple. And I think that's why the chaos magicians get to have all the laughing during their serious moments, because they understand the jokes from top to bottom, bottom down, forward to back. I think that's the best part of chaos magic, is that its reality is simple. That's why it exists, but it's also complicated if you want it to be.
Because it isn't overcomplicated. Like you said, it's a basic understanding, but it can be applied and extrapolated into these complex systems of magic, or how we read about all these ritualistic magic systems that you have to do everything perfectly to the book by the recipe, or it's wrong, or it kind of blows all that out of the water and just shows you, yes, that's a tool that you can use, but there are other tools that you can use. Chaos magic shows you how intention actually underlies every magical system.
And somehow it's still not at odds with them if you decide to use them in tandem.
Correct. Very utilitarian.
What's great about Phil Hine is he takes some 900 IQ stuff and he makes it dummy simple. And we get asked quite a bit, what's a good beginner book? What should I buy and study first? This, you should study and buy Condensed Chaos by Phil Hine if you're looking for a starter book.
Yes.
I think it's definitely worth noting that Phil Hine is still alive and doing his thing. Would be pretty cool to have him on the show.
Yeah, if you
You're
know
listening.
him or something, like, be like, hey, those annoying guys on the podcast want to have you on the show. And be like, okay.
Also, even if you're not a beginner, I think it's worth picking up this book because I definitely think it can add to your practice.
It could also break up if you're like stuck in a rut doing the same thing. It can give you fresh perspective on what you're doing.
Yeah, if you consider yourself an advanced magician and you haven't dabbled in chaos magic, you should, because for a long time I always brushed chaos magic aside because I thought it was just people doing whatever they want
Just random shit.
and random shit. And a part of it online, at least, when I was coming up learning about this stuff, it does come off that way. And like, oh, I'm a chaos magician, I don't have to do anything. And like there was even people I'd meet at shows and stuff like, oh, I'm a chaos magician, and like, and it's like they're the dumbest fucking idiots I've ever come across. And it's like, but yet
Your mouth.
but yet they could sit there and talk with me about like Hinduism and all this other shit, but then they like turned the conversation around into their own little world. And I just was like, if that's chaos magic, I don't want any part of that. But when you look at, Austin Osman Spare, and, I didn't really know who that was until I was on the podcast, really. It kind of like, okay, chaos magic is true to the word chaos. Chaos means primordial, like a unified field of things. It doesn't mean everything's in disorder. Like the opposite of chaos, like I've said in the past, is the word cosmos. If you look at the Greek lexicon or the, Greek etymology of those two words.
Universal magic,
yeah.
in other words.
If anything, cosmos is chaotic in the modern sense. When we use the word chaos, we think, oh, it's all fucking mixed up and scattered everywhere. That's the cosmos. Chaos, before all that, it's the darkness before it all, the potential of all this creation to happen. So I think it's really neat. If you're an advanced magician and you haven't done chaos magic, check it out. It opens up some eyes.
I also just want to point out that if you have ever taken your own spin on a practice or come up with your own approach regarding a ritual, you've already dabbled in chaos magic. If you've ever opened a book to a random page to get some kind of bibliomancy, you've dabbled in chaos magic already.
I've been doing chaos magic my whole fucking life. That's what I found out.
That's why I love
Yep.
it, though, is because it shows that everyone has this ability in them. It's innate in our souls to be able to do this. And where you scatter in personal touches, like I do my tarot in a certain different way that everybody else does. Like,
Yeah.
that to me is what conduits the magic better for individuals. I really view this as not only a universal touchstone about how magic works, but it's not gate kept. That's why there's so many like,
Yeah,
stupid
I was
retards
gonna
that say, oh, I'm a chaos magician. They're not doing anything. But at the same time, that allows for regular everyday people to have access to magic. And also people that they're not even aware that they're doing magic are doing magic.
I was gonna say chaos magic is one of the only practices that doesn't seem to suffer from the same kind of gatekeeping as other forms of practices. And
that's why I love
is
it so much. Yeah.
a truly huge breath of fresh air in this community.
So would it really be a proper book without doing backflips to define what magic is?
No.
According to Phil Hine, if we're going to define magic, in my opinion, it's one of the best because it avoids over-intellectualizing the issue and it cuts right to the heart of the matter. He says,
Magic is about change, changing your circumstances so that you strive to live according to a developing sense of personal responsibility, that you can affect change around you if you choose, that we are not helpless cogs in some clockwork universe. All acts of personal and collective liberation are magical acts. Magic leads us into exhilaration and ecstasy, into insight and understanding, into changing ourselves and the world in which we participate. Through magic, we may come to explore the possibilities of freedom.
think about that for a second. Magic is not about power, prestige, moral purity, or any of that other baloney. It's about freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's extremely libertarian as well, so I'm very into it.
You know, this is also the goal of Hindu/eternal Dharma religions. You're supposed to achieve moksha, or liberation. Sadly, however, as Hine points out, many schools of magic can actually make our lives less magical.
Womp, womp.
Wah, 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 wah. Don't you have that on the soundboard?
I think it comes with Discord.
Oh, yeah. Abstract spiritual spaces have been created in the midst of which tower the Babel-like Lego construction of inner planes, spiritual hierarchies, and occult truths, which forget that the world around us is magical.
Yeah!
Like everything is magic.
It's very also parallel to Kemetic beliefs.
It really is, which is funny because if you look at it from the right angle, it could be argued, and I say this a lot on the show, that chaos magic could be a more accurate or correct manifestation of how Thelema was supposed to be.
Yo.
We're getting deep cuts now. Just keep it in mind, though.
I can dig it.
So this whole, like, how many angels fit on a needle head, that whole thing, how many nose hairs does God have, Kabbalistic, Luke's yelling at you about Dark City type stuff. You know the stuff that when you first see it, you squint and you're like, why would I ever need to know that? Well, chaos magic aims to remedy this deeply ironic amount of magical dead weight that traditional systems impose on you, and it just leaves the practical stuff that you can actually use.
It's a real leave the gun, take the cannoli situation that chaos magic is presenting.
And so some of you might be asking, why? Why should I mess with something called chaos magic? Well, the brand of chaos magic we're discussing today, here in Condensed Chaos, it's said to offer us the following list of potential benefits.
1. A means to disentangle yourself from the attitudes and restrictions you were brought up with and which define the limits of what you may become. 2. Ways to examine your life to look for, understand, and modify behavior, emotion, and thought patterns which hinder learning and growth. 3. Increase of confidence and personal charisma. 4. A widening of your perception of just what is possible once you set your heart and mind on it. 5. To develop personal abilities, skills, and perceptions. The more we see the world, the more we appreciate that it is alive. 6. To have fun. Magic should be enjoyed. 7. To bring about change in accordance with will. Well, that's very Thelemic. 8. To become a double Crowley and dominate your foes with hexes. Magic can do all this and more.
Okay, I added number 8.
I mean, this list sort of sounds like the vampire magic, the energy magic of a vampire.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of overlap.
Uh-huh.
It is very similar. To be fair, this book was published in 1994, so peak Smashing Pumpkins era. So thankfully, Hine reminds us that magic is actually quite a bit easier and more common than we may first imagine. After all, as we discussed in the intro, chaos and chaos magic is a bit closer to the headspace of Max Cohen from Pi than it is, say, Joker from Batman.
1245. Restate my assumptions. 1. Mathematics is the language of nature. 2. Everything around us can be represented and understood through numbers. 3. If you graph the numbers of any system, patterns emerge. Therefore, there are patterns everywhere in nature. Evidence. The cycling of disease epidemics. The wax and wane of caribou populations. Sunspot cycles. the rise and fall of the Nile.
The fractal, he explains, is the perfect symbol for this revelation.
Quote, in some ways, the fractal is a 20th century icon of the idea that all things are, at some level, interconnected at any given moment. Chaos theory, in a way, points out the obvious, that one event can change those that follow in a way that can have a tremendous impact upon us. We tend to think of ourselves, for example, as being fairly constant day after day, only changing over a span of time. Chaos theory shows us the complexity which underlines the apparent simplicity. End quote.
Now, although it sounds a little basic so far, we've already arrived at a demystified explanation of achieving moksha, or liberation, from a skillful engagement of the Dharma, using magic, which is the unfolding of the karma, a deeply complex chain of cause and effect. So, once again, we're taking some stuff that's fairly complicated and making it dummy simple. In fact, demystification of existing systems of magic is the central thrust of chaos magic, which, all told, can be understood as a streamlined edition of all the world's wisdom traditions, whittled down to their most common denominators. What's left is 6 core principles of chaos magic, which, due to the unbound nature of chaos, amounts to something close to 6 guidelines, really. Modify at your own convenience and peril. They are as follows. 1. The avoidance of dogmatism. Hine recommends taking a book from Discordianism and having Katmas instead.
Yeah, he liked Discordianism. He noted it's because it was a rejection of the strict adherence of order that came with all of these magical orders that were around at the time.
There's quite a bit of wisdom in Discordianism, especially if you consider what we learn in Condensed Chaos. So, as Hine says,
chaos magicians feel entitled to change their minds, contradict themselves, and come up with arguments that are alternatively plausible and implausible. It has been pointed out that we invest a lot of time and energy into being right. What is wrong with being wrong occasionally?
Yeah, it's okay to admit when you're wrong sometimes.
Well, I mean, this is making me think of why philosophy, and specifically the whole logic part of philosophy, is understanding how to break apart your own statements and become your own worst enemy actively.
Devil's advocate.
And I've also said on the show that I think like true artistic innovation is from making mistakes. Like that's the only thing that is new. It doesn't mean that it's right, but like if you discover something wrong and can explain it, why it's wrong, like that's kind of like its own find in itself.
But you're still getting gold from that. This is not only applicable to magic systems or even philosophy, but it's also applicable to science. Like now we have scientism, which is the dogmatism of science, where people say, oh, that this was published in this journal, therefore it's fact. Right, but a lot of these scientific journals, these studies, they actually modify their hypothesis after the results come in order to make it look like they were right. So there's a lot of fudging and lying going on behind the scenes in these dogmatic systems that we have. So that's why I value this part so much, is that don't get looped up and caught up into any of these dictated behavioral systems that you're prescribed by other people or authorities.
So like when I scream about us being corn for the alien overlords, I'm allowed to because I can change my mind at any point. I didn't start there. That's not my dogma. I have arrived at this conclusion by looking at, we'll not call them facts, we'll call them factoids. And it could change, you know?
At any given time, right? With new information comes in, absolutely. And you're supposed to change your mind. I think the whole point of chaos magic, in my opinion, is to not allow yourself to become rigid or stagnant by basically doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, which is crazy by definition.
Breaking away and out of the rut that is dogma.
It's kind of embarrassing when someone can't admit they're wrong, or like they have a weird thing about not wanting to admit they're wrong. Like, just admit you're wrong.
Yeah.
It's okay. No, and we shouldn't be upset when other people are wrong.
It should be a happy thing, because we know what the correct path is now.
I mean, people just need to take stuff like that less seriously. All right, number 2. Personal experience is paramount. Long story short, don't take our word for things. Go out and try it yourself. Your own personal experience is 1,000 times more valuable and useful than anything a so-called expert can tell you, even if it's in a book, believe it or not.
And he states, while books and other people can give you a knowledge of magical techniques, it is up to you as to how you apply them and what theories and beliefs you weave around the results of your application. There are no correct ways to perform magical acts, just the ones that work for you. There's no wrong way to eat a Reese's.
Even just becoming obsessed obsessed with researching but never practicing in itself can end up being its own limiting dogma.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of shining a light on another thing I strongly feel when it comes to magic is like you don't really want to ever tell other people what you experienced in ritual. The moment you have when you connect with, let's call it the power of magic, right? It's special to you and you have to become familiar with that. And I don't know, I just feel like other people's, it starts to become a little dogmatic and less personalized, right? Like, oh, you're going to see an angel in red robes and you know, she's going to have flaming hair and all that stuff. It's like, nah, mine was a swamp lady.
You know me. What about the boat times?
You know,
everyone
like,
has a different experiential twinge to what they have happened to them, but it doesn't mean it's not the same force acting through
you know,
one person.
it's Zebra from fucking, you know, Valis, you know, it's personalized. And like once you understand that for yourself, then talk to others who have that experience and then, you know, be on the same table with them, that they're talking about something honestly and you're talking about something honestly, and try to find where it does connect. Those are really special interactive moments with another human on a subject that's metaphysical, I guess you want to call it, but we all know it's all connected. It's all fractal, right? So
yeah, the experiential aspect is extremely important in my opinion, because your personal perspective is the filter in which you connect with the source energy anyway. So it's going to look different to every single person that does it. And it's much like having a dream or a near-death experience. People report seeing different things, but it's the same process that's going on underneath with just different, I guess, aesthetic paint on top of it. Much like, I don't know if anybody has ever met God through hallucinatory drugs or something, but if you try to explain a trip to somebody after you've had it, it's extremely difficult. And I think there's a reason why, because it's only meant for you.
Brings us to number 3, technical excellence. In this section, Hine addresses the misconception, as we discussed earlier, that chaos magic means do whatever you want and throw the discipline to the wind. Not so. Do you have a meal that you're particularly good at making? It's like that. Let's say you follow all the instructions, but it keeps coming out wrong. You're allowed to make adjustments. It's ultimately on you to master the dish. For instance, I'm pretty good at making broccoli at this point. You should think of your magic the same way.
Yeah, once you learn the basics of cooking, you can kind of mix it up and put your own flair into recipes, and they might come out better than anticipated.
But it's not just all random. You don't just make it up as you go. Like, you want to make the best broccoli possible. So there is technical excellence. It's not just, you get the point.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's foundations to it.
I make good spicy spaghetti.
Oh, sounds good.
On the other hand, I want to point out that if your particular strength is in winging something, that you could just not have a specific methodology for broccoli, because you should focus on embracing being good at winging it.
Just be good at it, though.
No, well, like,
Yeah.
you're reading your intuition into making the broccoli delicious.
Get good.
I am spaghetti.
Get good. That's what they say in the From Software games.
Get good, scrub.
Get good or die trying.
Or skate. You could always skate. Number 4. This was very chaos magic-y. Deconditioning. And this one's a lot harder to do today than it was when it first came out in 1994. This is a call for the aspiring magician to not just detach, but decondition themselves from, quote,
Their mesh of beliefs, attitudes, and fictions about self, society, and the world. Our ego is a fiction of stable selfhood, which maintains itself by perpetuating the distinctions of what I am not, what I like, what I don't like, beliefs about one's politics, religion, gender preference, degree of free will, race, subculture, etc. all help maintain a stable sense of self, while the little ways in which we pull against this very stability allows us to feel as though we are unique individuals. Using deconditioning exercises, we can start to widen the cracks in our consensual reality, which hopefully enables us to become less attached to our beliefs and ego fictions, and thus able to discard or modify them when appropriate. To me, this is calling out people that they are so entrenched in dogma and social order that they are not able to change their minds, that they're brainwashed to the point of, negativity or even violence against other people to keep the order of what they think they are and what culture is intact. You can't question yourself, you can't laugh at yourself, and you can't change your mind. You're in a heap of trouble, in my opinion.
Without overplaying my hand, it definitely feels feels like the people on both extremes are very obsessed with identity and preferences, and like they almost have their own occult science about what all that stuff means.
It's dogmatic.
But like, according to like occult doctrine, like even chaos magic, it's groundless and baseless. So like, I am gonna do my best to be courteous and kind to people, but at the same time, all that stuff, your religion, your beliefs, your preferences, all that, it's not really that important. I mean, fundamentally, at least to me, and that's okay if we disagree, but you're a human and a person regardless of any of those things. So I think that's the important part for me.
Right. And then understanding that everybody has to have their own experiences, like we were saying before, in order to come to those conclusions. So you can't just, if you disagree with someone, you can't just disregard them as a thinking individual.
Yeah.
You have to understand that they're on their own journey of discovery, and you have to allow them to do that on their own. You can't just give them all the answers to the test. They won't learn anything. So the whole point is allowing people to blossom and grow on their own. And then one of my favorite sayings that I came up with was, everybody should be free to make their own mistakes, because mistakes are what show you the true path. And if you shelter someone or keep them from making certain mistakes that you made, well, maybe they'll never discover where they're supposed to go in life.
Yeah.
So you have to be very open about other people, even disagreeing with you, but you have to allow them to do that because that's their free will.
Try and be respectful to other people in the Discord. Okay, moving on. 5, diverse approaches. As we've mentioned, chaos magicians are encouraged to mix and match traditions and find what works best for them. Even at the gritting and gnashing of teeth of all the traditional folks who were like, don't do that! My tradition is not your chaos magic! I was like, yes, it is. I'm sorry. We're taking it. There's nothing you can do about it.
Cultural appropriation.
I mean, hold on. You can also borrow from like science fiction and fairy tales and films. My favorite. You know, I love doing that. And then video games. Steal from video games.
Is a gun a wand or a sword?
Oh, God.
Just to be fair, this is also the way that the universe works in its process of creation. It takes things and it modifies and it evolves them. And so chaos magic is embracing this natural aspect of life itself.
Now, before enough old white dudes got together and sat around and decided, like, this is all the traditional stuff, like Hermeticism and, you know, like pagan Kabbalism, it's all cobbled together. It's all like borrowed stuff, and like, we just agree now that this means this and this means this. So you're free to do that yourself, you know? The number 6, gnosis. Now, this is a particularly chaos magic-y way of using this terminology, where gnosis, at least here, refers to the ability to enter a trance state or altered state of mind to accomplish a magical feat. It's used broadly and like a verb. For instance, I can enter into a divinatory gnosis on demand by connecting with Thoth. All inhibitory and excitatory forms of ritual are explained as gateways to these altered states where magic is launched or performed.
Or perhaps flow state?
Flow state would be
This
a
kind of-
type of gnosis, yeah.
Yeah.
This kind of gnosis goes hand in hand with around and find out.
It's experiential at its base, yeah.
Well, like you've heard the phrase in the zone. I mean, it's like, you know, it's the magical equivalent of being in the zone.
It's also complementary to the previous thing that was just said about the liberty of making your own mistakes.
Well, in a traditional sense, gnosis means to know. So in theory, if you're making mistakes and you're getting firsthand experience, then yes, you know.
You're integrating it actively and then moving on in a seamless direction. Like there's no stopping point where you're like, oh, I f***ed up. That doesn't happen. Like you just move on. Like I remember getting this advice when I was a kid as a blooming artist, is when you're drawing a picture or a painting, if you make a mistake, just keep painting on top of it until it looks like it wasn't a mistake anymore. You know, you can integrate the mistakes you make into the final product. It's not an end all be all when you do something that is considered a mistake. But when you're if you're in true gnosis, you're not going to view that as a mistake. It's just going to be a natural process of the final product.
Yeah, it's a symbiotic relationship because we learn from our mistakes.
Yes, just as a tree tries to grow towards the shady side of a yard, it by process doesn't grow that far that side. It'll grow towards the sun. It's just like, you can't say the tree like made a mistake and then grew toward, it's happening all at once as one one process.
I personally have the idea that gnosis, it's a state of mind that you're not always tapped into. And when you're not tapped into gnosis, then the potential for you to make mistakes sort of arises.
Or higher,
And-
yeah.
But the next time you go back into gnosis, everything looks different because you know more and you truly
Right,
learn.
but like, show me the person who arrived at gnosis without making any mistakes
Exactly.
along the way.
Yeah. It's something that, like, some people want to constantly be in that flow state, but in my experience, it's a little tiring.
It's not very feasible for a human being to do.
And since everybody's different, your flow state might be world destructive for all you know. And
I
maybe
mean,
you
that's
shouldn't-
my flow state.
Come on. No, that's just you playing with a pipe like a lightsaber. That's your flow state.
I think this approach to gnosis is largely embraces the way that humans function naturally. So it's kind of like a natural style of magic, if you will.
Yeah, primordial.
Yeah, even from a psychological functionality.
Brings us now to Chapter 2, Magic in the Material World.
Now, Chapter 2 poses a bit of a challenge to the more traditional schools of thought, which demarcate high magic from low magic, or magic that's aimed towards the enrichment of the inner dimension, and magic aimed towards results.
Personal results.
While there is much value in the enrichment of the soul, we are warned not to shirk our responsibility to be magically potent in our ordinary lives. So you could just listen to Aleister Crowley all day, tell you it's black magic if you do manifestation for a cup of noodles. You should only use magic to make contact with your holy guardian angel and then afterwards cross the abyss. Anything else is haram, basically. And this is a sentiment that's like pretty well shared in most traditional schools. It's not so much, though, here in Chaos Magic.
But I'm hungry for ramen.
Exactly. Are you gonna miss the mark or something by spelling for ramen?
You're just going to be hungry in 30 minutes.
Sometimes it's fun to smell like poverty.
Now listen, we're also warned that magic is dangerous and it's not for everybody, like guns.
Magic has glamours. It's very seductive in the short term, but in the long term, the results can be somewhat expensive, like cars.
From the book, the ability to perform advanced acts of magic requires years of effort, years of study, training, practice, analysis, and growing self-awareness. These years are valuable. The passage of time allows us to grow, to create our own codes of ethics and honors, forming the roots of our power and the bedrock upon which we build our magical reality. As it is often said, a powerful magician stands alone in the crowd, to some degree alien or inhuman.
This is also good advice to know about if you're writing the next Star Wars TV film, whatever.
Oh, keep hoping.
A New Hope.
It's over. Bro,
It's
it's
a New
over.
Hope. It's Luke. He's here, guys.
It's just make a movie about Luke, and then that'll be the last Star Wars film.
I guess the Andor people are doing very well and making and spending a lot of money. So it is what it is. But yes, magic has consequences. And
Really?
I mean,
Anything that has the potential for cause and effect has the potential for consequences.
I was gonna say, this just sounds like that be careful what you wish for old wives' tale over and over again.
Yes, you should be.
Absolutely. If you wish for a bowl of ramen, then hopefully you're not prying it out of some dead person's hands at the end of the day.
Or
this-
it might just be a really spicy ramen you weren't ready for.
Oh, yeah. Like
And then it gets cold and soggy because you
or
can't.
it goes through your body in 30 minutes and you're on the toilet for an hour after that.
It'd be that. It'd be exactly what happened.
And you thought you liked spicy ramen.
I like spicy ramen. It's the gluten. Okay, it's the gluten.
Okay, but imagine it's spaghetti. See?
Japanese spaghetti.
Spicy spaghetti, man.
That's yakisoba, yo.
This brings us to the next tool of the Chaos Magician, self-assessment. We are warned it's easy to fool ourselves and obfuscate things from our own awareness. This makes rigorous self-examination a painful necessity. Our ego tends to reject that which does not fit into our immediate idea of selfhood. Looking for blind spots is just as important for the beginner as it is for the adept. Proficiency in magic does not imply a lack of flaws. Go figure.
And this is where it has a lot of overlap with shadow work.
Yes. I tend to believe the smarter and more proficient we are, the smarter and more proficient our shadows become as well, including the ability to fool us. In traditional systems, we might have a master or guru to guide us, but in chaos magic, we might ask our trusted friend what they think and combine it with their own self-reflection. So it's a bit more palatable, at least to me, and more democratic if you think about it. However, who we are and how we behave is ultimately our own responsibility. So think about that. At the same time, we wish to develop a more complex idea of the
self and our concept of otherness. While most traditional philosophies of the West are focused on where they are separate, falling in line with a strict body-mind dichotomy, which in turn follows from an equally strict spirit-matter dichotomy. Chaos Magic's decentralized brand philosophy tends to re-examine this relationship where, upon closer inspection, the demarcation between these dualities is often much more ambiguous. And while this sounds like reducing everything to cold dead matter, as is often the case in mainstream science, it integrates consciousness and non-rational states at a base level.
The book says, not only is there no ghost in the machine, but the idea of a physiological machine moving through a passive environment has been shown up to be rather simplistic. Chaos philosophy is developing the idea of interdependent systems, ecologies, which have the inherent capacity for self-organization. As a purely practical example, go out into the woodlands or a similar natural space. You are entering a dynamic ecosystem whose elements include flora, fauna, local history, geographical and geological features, mythic associations, seasonal variations, and weather. When you enter it, you become another element in a mesh of interrelated dynamics. Your experience of being within this place will depend upon your interaction with other elements, many of which you are likely to be unaware of, at least initially. Before you start to impose any magical significance onto the place, observe it, be aware of your own relationship with it, and you might be surprised.
So go into the woods and be like Ric Flair. Got it.
It's eloquently stated. I mean, I am a panpsychist.
Yes.
I believe that every unit of matter has some level of consciousness to it. And by interacting with one another, just like the wind hitting the leaves in the trees, the rain falling on the ground, the water flowing through the river, I think all of that has some kind of spiritual essence. And you have to pay attention to it to understand the complex environment in which you are. And just existing, you don't exist as yourself or as a single ego. You're constantly intertwined with everything around you at all times.
This particular exercise highlights the receptivity of perception so that we don't go into something with our preconceived notions and projecting it onto it.
Correct.
And it's developing and harnessing, cultivating even that connectivity to make your magical practice feasible as well as more potent.
From this perspective, everything is alive and magical, or is living and expresses magical properties inherently without having to throw all the science in the trash. It's a really fun way to look at the world.
Not even fun, but it works because you do have to take into account your surroundings. Why meditate, in the forest with a candle? Like, why change your environment to be conducive to that? There's a reason, because we're connected to everything around us at any given time. It's just you're not aware of it until you go inward. Yeah.
With the perspective of panpsychism doing this exact thing, it allows you to step outside of your egoic illusory projections and connects you to that magic that's in everything.
Yeah, when you perform magic, you must be integral with your surroundings. You must integrate into them. Powerful magic is expressed by many different entities in one environment that maybe you're not control of, but you can influence those perspectives as well as your own. So ego is literally an illusion. I mean, that's all this means.
And I just want to point out again, this is also in line with Kemetic practices for anybody who's interested in Kemetic ideologies, because it kind of is a reiteration of Ka and how everything has Ka.
It's nice they have a word for it, because in English, it's very hard to say a rock has consciousness. It's like people are like, what are you talking about?
Now, ideally, one should test and find the limits of one's magical power. What is within the realm of possibility? Can this realm of possibility be extended? What can or cannot be modified? What are the hard rules, and what are barriers that can be burst through? Hine says,
the understanding of the limits and constraints which channel your power is the difference between effective magician and the megalomaniac. Chaos magic is not about discerning all rules and restraints, but the process of discovering the most effective guidelines and principles which enable you to affect change in the world.
Magic is a two-way street, and it works on a FAFO-type basis. If you plan to start affecting the universe in mysterious ways, don't be shocked when the universe starts affecting you in equally mysterious ways. You could stay up all night talking to the ghost of J. Edgar Hoover, suddenly become convinced that you're a reincarnation of Jack Parsons, or learn one bizarre evening that you're the key figurehead in a vast intergalactic breeding program involving 11 different alien species who've been disguising themselves as clowns and scraping your eggs intermittently since you were 8.
Ugh.
No! no.
You mess with the Necronomicon, your butt cheeks better be ready for tentacles.
Okay, I'm down.
I mean, very common in animes that tentacle monsters just are, satisfied and defeated by just boning them. Happens a lot.
And this brings us to chapter 3, Becoming a Magician.
I'm so glad you didn't say becoming a tentacle monster.
I mean, you can if you want.
I guess so, yeah.
Because your theory is we're going to go down there and have a donkey barbecue and I'm going to furnish the ass, right?
You do you.
Eyes on the inside, I guess.
You ever see the post about the guy who's doing chaos magic to become a werewolf? Never mind.
No, I don't think so.
Sounds like more Bloodborne stuff.
So here we arrive at the "So you want to be a magician" pep talk part of the text. Phil Hine says,
Anyone can convince themselves that they are a magician in the safety of their own heads. It helps sometimes to have a few followers or friends who agree. But the test here is to go somewhere else and be a magician there. One of the most significant powers a magician develops is a certain poise, or degree of self-assurance of manner. A good magician maintains this poise no matter where they are or who he has about him. This is a power that other magicians can recognize and respect, as it says much more about a person than what he says about himself.
it sounds like the description we're encouraged to live up to is reminiscent of the wizard from the first Black Sabbath album. A wizard has poise. A wizard has pizzazz. An aura of confidence that is contagious. This, Hine points out, is something that two magicians can instantly recognize in each other. He also points out, it's not necessarily how much of an occultnik hipster you are either. In the occult, there is a desire and ever a trend toward the older and more abstruse, arcane forms of magic. But some of the most truly advanced magic is just masterful application of the basics. This is one reason we should not be afraid to keep re-examining the basics alongside the more novel bits.
This is exactly why the pentagram spell is so powerful, because it's interacting with the elemental forces at work. So when you start manipulating the foundations of this whole idea, it's always a weakness in reality. So that's why it disrupts other spells and bad spirits, like saying "be gone" and they go.
Now, just like with any other form of magic, we're warned, keep a magical record. If it's not written down, it didn't happen. So you want to keep track of all the magic you do, the subjective mental states, what the weather was like, what was going on in your life, etc.
Also, dream journal.
And keeping track of the day and stuff, you could even look at the astrological aspects thanks to technology now, and you know where you were and you can get the coordinates and like do so much with that information to check your notes of the next time that thing happened in your life.
It's super helpful. Then there's also no getting around the idea that doing magic takes time and a certain amount of regular practice. While different teachers will make different recommendations, different demands, it's best to commit yourself to something you know you can stick to. Biting off more than you can chew for short bursts is not as good as regular bite-sized efforts. It's the tortoise versus the hare in this case. It's also possible to be doing too much magic if you're overloaded with rituals or reading too many books in a row before you can even properly digest what you've read. It might be a good idea to slow down, take a short sabbatical.
Yeah, I see this a lot with divination. Have you ever met someone that just keeps drawing tarot cards until they get the answer they want?
Yeah, it's not good.
It's not a good thing.
Dingus was very bad with that.
Yeah, I know. I try to point it out, but no, I was wrong. But yeah, you can do something into the ground, and that's the thing, is you have to know when to like hang it up and just take the information you're given. As Hine points out, taking a break from active magical work can be a magical act in its own right, and by doing this, it allows the practitioner to come back fresh.
It's just like sleeping.
Or working. Like for me, doing a lot of creative work in my regular job, you get into this point, I call it having my blinders on, like how they would put blinders on horses so they'd focus on the road.
Yeah.
But you have to take them off every so often. As a creative, I would get up every 1 or 2 hours and walk around for about 10 minutes and then come back to my desk. And then that fresh look on your work, it kind of breaks you out of this, I guess, habitualization of what you're doing, because you can actually go down the wrong path trying to correct mistakes and stuff. But if you take a break and come back fresh, you're going to start to see things that you didn't see before when you had your blinders on.
This is why I mentioned sleeping, because it's very much a similar process. Like if you want decent cognitive function, your brain needs to be able to rest. If you go without sleep, it's going to affect your ability to think properly. And it's the same thing with magic. Sometimes you have to take a break. If you're just doing it constantly all the time, it needs some time to be able to actually do the things that are subconscious because it's linked to your subconscious as much as it's linked to your conscious.
Right. It's a unified process between the two. So you can't let your, forward thinking, egotistical mind take over. To me, it's like defragging a hard drive because a hard drive stores stuff, but when you defrag it, you kind of organize all the information next to each other to where it makes sense. And you need to take time to do that and not work on anything to allow the information to kind of coalesce together in a meaningful way.
It's funny because I've heard defragging be used as an analogy for what happens when you sleep as well.
I found it through experience that when I'm taking magic very seriously for like months and months, especially with other people, any moment that I'm like out in regular environments, like, for social events or just I'm at the store or something, somebody's talking to me when I'm like not at work, I'm in my own head, right? It's really hard to have a good time. It's like everybody's conversations are about stupid things that are not important. Like why is this person acting this way? And I don't know, for me at least, and it's not that I'm being a dick or anything, it's just in my head, it's like the perspective on the world is like, oh, it's all weird and stuff, right? And I live in Los Angeles, so that's kind of saying a lot, I guess. But once you hang up that phone, that the call with God, and you're outside of the magic circle, and you just go back to being the fucking regular punk rock dude, and it's like I'm just in a better mood. And learning how to turn that magic pulse on and off and send signals out in intervals, I find that to be like a lot more fun in jumping through the portal and back, into different roles. That it's just that one, active magic or passive magic, really. It's yin and yang, if you want to zoom out more, but you gotta have a good time and just be a regular person. And it's hard to not talk about magic and all that metaphysical stuff with people sometimes when, and not everybody's like trying to go there. They're oh man, like, are you talking about it all? It's like, oh, I guess I should just shut up, huh? It's like, so.
We're actually going to talk more about that in the next part.
I think Phil Hine even points out that it would be better to just meditate once a week and do it well than it would be to just go through the motions of daily rituals.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, it's about quality, not quantity, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why like praying right before you're eating is like really, really wise, because if you're eating at regular intervals, you think, and your day might have been good or bad, and that prayer is different for that reason. It's all personalized.
You give gratitude.
Yeah. And it's just like a simple thing, but it's meditative at the same time.
When I was researching how to diet, this was the gratitude, the prayer before a meal is a huge thing because it allows you eat slower, and then your hunger signal is able to reach your brain before. If you gorge food, it doesn't reach your brain. Like, you're overstuffed by the time it does. But if you pray before, you actually only eat as much as you need.
Well, this is a great example. If you pray every single time over your food, this allows the intentions of your prayers to go into your food, and then the food becomes you. You become your intentions. You are creating yourself. Now, if you can do this regularly, where you can't do a 40-minute banishing, invoking middle pillar type exercise every single day, then do the thing you can do. That's going to have more value for you than if you just every now and then do an LBRP or like you half-ass a middle pillar.
I think it's always a good idea as well to over-masticate your food. I have a habit of doing this myself.
Right, but chewing for a long time also is a type of meditation on what you're consuming.
Masticate often,
Well,
ladies.
This is my point, is that when you over-masticate your food, not only are you connecting more with, you could say, the ka of what it is that you are making a part of yourself, but you are also, by doing that, because you're making it a part of yourself, you are also taking the time almost to meditate through your actions and do a kind of self-reflection in that kind of integration. Does that make sense?
Yeah, because it's easier to do it in your mouth where you have direct control than your stomach where the acid takes over.
You guys are just making me hungry.
And you get more from it as well. Like it
taste,
helps your
the
body.
sensations, yeah, the pleasure of it.
It helps your body to break it down better and to get more from it, which is really what you want out of life itself, right? Especially if you're wanting something out of your magical practices. Like, just doing this automatically kind of connects you to getting into the habit of getting the most out of what it is that you're doing.
Yeah, and like Luke was saying, the food becomes you. Put all the negative stuff in there, like do a wash, and then just fuel yourself off of all that anger and all that frustration you're having for the moment and enjoy your food, and be thankful. Basically.
And also sharing meals with people, it distracts you enough, like talking while you're having a meal, sharing things and connecting with people also allows you to enjoy your food food longer and perhaps to integrate
Oh,
it more
man.
effectively.
Now I'm hungry too.
You're just talking
We have
about
to
the
do a
magic
food
of food
episode.
now.
I mean, it's a big thing.
Yeah, we have to do a food episode at some point.
It's a big deal.
Okay, but if you'd like to hear the rest of the show where we get back on topic and talk about the dangers of doing magic, there's actually quite a few dangers. There's a few pitfalls, if you will.
Oh no.
So you're holding the cheap people hostage?
Yeah, and also, we're gonna talk about what makes a good magician, how to use the DRAT formula for various different magical practices.
Different shades of perception?
Is it 50?
Yes, and how to use the Star Chamber. Then please visit www.patreon.com/thewholerabbit,
Where your monthly donation of just $5 will not only get you this extended show, it'll get you all our extended shows.
I'll send you a 5x5 high quality vinyl sticker for our Big Bunny Baphomet cover art.
And you'll get the secret keys to our Discord server where you can hang out with us and eat carrots and shoot lasers.
Pew pew.
Pew, pew.
You better pray over those carrots.